I always get goosebumps when I hear that song. And I'd like to thank you all for tuning in today. And I hope we're not having audio problems, but I see that Shane Enholm is here. And he's the original founder of the Flower Leperds and singer-songwriter. And I just need to know, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Shane? No audio. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and play another song and try to figure out why we can't hear Mr. Enholm.
Round here.
little bit of audio troubles, and I would like to introduce Shane Enholm to you. Are you there, Shane?
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I had to open up another browser and put you on there. So, yes. And how are you doing today?
I'm good. I haven't heard those Flower Leperds songs in a while. Wow, Motorhead. We were so influenced by Motorhead, that last song. Oh, God.
Well, Lenny used to hang out at the studio quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, we never missed a Motorhead show, or we really were into them. And I remember when we were writing that song, Mario, that beginning bass riff, that was total Motorhead. Well, everyone in LA was well, not everyone, but a lot of us were influenced by Motorhead then. So,
Sure.
Yeah, great stuff. I haven't heard it in a while. And then Lying Dead on the Phone, oh, that ending solo. I just had to have that Guitar Hero solo at the end. You dig? Like, I had to have it.
It's beautiful. I always get goosebumps when I hear that song.
Well, that makes me happy to hear that. Yeah, I put it on the new acoustic record I did too, just because it's one of my favorite love songs I ever wrote. I was living at Jeff's at the time, and Casey was living in Hollywood, and it was kind of about us.
I know.
So, yeah, great stuff. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming on, and you're like one of the last of the Mohicans in the Flower Leperds, with Jeff and Mario gone.
Yeah, they're gone. Yeah. It's really kind of a tragic story. It's kind of sad because that original band, we really had really good chemistry. You know what I mean? I mean, we didn't always get along, but musically we really did. We just couldn't, we couldn't pull our heads out of our asses, but the rest of it was good. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's wonderful, and I'm so glad that we're able to keep it alive and going, and like the rest of us.
Well, yeah, that's always an issue. Mystic's always been good about that. You know what I mean? Like, I was really pleasantly surprised, kind of like I got out of the music scene for a while, and then when I came back, that they had done so well, like keeping stuff out there and stuff.
Well, it's signed in blood. We love you forever, and we take care of you forever.
Yeah, Doug was always really good to me. I mean, we would go to that Denny's to breakfast before we'd go to the studio, and he was always really good guy. At least, my interactions with him were always incredible. And I hadn't talked to him in like 20 years, and I talked to him for a minute, maybe, I don't know, a few years ago, and I just thanked him for he always kind of looked out for me, which I always appreciated.
And we always will.
Yeah, right. Well, you too. You've done a bunch for me lately. I just can't thank you enough. But Flower Leperds, yeah, we it was one of my favorite times. It's my favorite band to play in. We really had a good time touring, and it was really a good time in my life. I like to see it preserved as it is,
Yes. And we were talking, Doug and I were talking the other day. And since it's been 20-odd years since the last vinyl record was put out, it's never been repressed. We were talking about making some new metal and put it out again. Vinyl is popular, and
that would be just wonderful, because then more people would. Yeah, that would be just wonderful. Yeah, again, would be really good. Of course, I would help any way I could, if you guys, that, anything I could do.
I know, you're wonderful. Well, I see we have a caller from the 805 area code. Caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling from. Well, I guess they're too shy to talk. Okay, well.
I didn't know. People call in, huh?
Oh, yeah, it's a live show. People can call in and interact and
cool.
all that, And,
hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hi. And,
hey,
and
Ron
who do we have?
Ron Fast.
Ron. Hey, it's Ron
Hey, Candace.
Fast from the Rotters and Public Enema and Kris Kringle Conspiracy. Hey, Ron, how you doing?
Pretty darn good. Can you repeat the first 5 minutes? I didn't have my radio working.
Oh, well, the first 5 minutes we were playing songs. And I see we have another caller on the line from 714 area code. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name's Lemmy. Just
yeah,
kidding,
right.
Scotty.
Scotty.
Okay.
What's
It's
up?
Scotty,
What's up,
singer.
Hooker?
One of my oldest friends sang in Verbal Abuse, and last band was Hollywood Hate. What's up, man? I recognize your voice anywhere.
What's
Nice.
grooving?
What's up, man? I'm really glad you called. My oldest friend, my oldest and dearest friend, Scotty.
Nice.
Well, it's a beautiful thing to hear Flower Leperds on the radio finally, and all that good stuff.
I know, I was blown away. I forgot that Round and Round so Motorhead influence, you know. I forgot that.
Yeah, he totally was. Yeah, that's Mario.
Yeah, Mario. He was the best bass player. Just so good.
Yeah. He's a good dude, man. Oh.
Yeah, he was. Well, the good always die young, you know what I mean? Jeff, him.
Yeah.
Does that mean we're all rotten old fuckers?
Right. No,
Yep,
it's just
we
we're doing
are.
life sentences, you know? Like those guys got short terms. We got life sentences.
Yeah,
Yep.
we do. We're in it for life.
Yeah, we are.
And we still got to put up with the bullshit.
Yeah, right. Right, yeah, but I got to say this. Last time I saw Mario, I love him with all my heart, but he wasn't looking too good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was in a casket, so, you know, that ain't looking too good.
But
God
I
bless
will
him.
say this, though. He did look very peaceful while sleeping.
Yeah, he did. That's right. We were there together. That's right. We were there together. Yeah, I heard that it's really hard to find his grave. I heard that they can't find it, like because they never put a stone there or anything. So another friend of mine, Jeff, he was a close friend of ours that played with us, and I think Jeff Hunter, but I always knew him as Jeff Patterson. He told me that he would go out there and look for the grave and could never find it. You know, he'd, I guess, get drunk or get, you know, and go out there and he'd just stumble around. Because that was a weird cemetery, but, you know, whatever. Anyway.
Well, I have another Flower Leopard song here that kind of goes along with that mood. Heaven's Closed.
Oh, there you go.
This is from the practice. back here in the studio with Shane, and it looks like Scotty's dropped off for a minute.
Man, Jeff Wolf was such a good songwriter. I mean, that song he wrote, that he was so talented. I just can't even. When I first got in the band, Jeff had a way of writing songs. It was just brilliant, brilliant songwriter for what we were trying to do. Because we were like, the reason I got in the band, I wasn't a founder of it though. What happened is they saw me in Hollywood, and then they didn't even know I could play, and they asked Scotty, because I was with Scotty, and Mario was like, hey, does that guy play anything? And Scott's like, yeah, he plays guitar. He plays like Angus Young or whatever. And so then they asked me to play, and I went out there and played with them. But Jeff was just his songwriting, because we were kind of trying to do an Alice Cooper Motorhead. We were trying to get out of punk rock, not out of punk rock, because you never leave punk rock. You know what I mean?
But you were creating a different genre of punk, because your music it stands out from the rest as being very different and very musically good, you know. And
yeah, we were trying. We were trying to. First Alice Cooper band, kind of, and Motor, you know, we were just trying really hard to play more difficult music. I don't know if difficult's the right word, but Jeff just had a brilliant way of writing stuff, and I would go stay with him. We rehearsed in West Covina. We rehearsed in a lot of places, but at first, when we were really writing these songs, we would sleep at Jeff's father's house, and he had cleaned his bedroom out, and it was just a rehearsal, and him and I would sit there, and it was like a trip, because in a lot of ways Jeff and I didn't get along, not on stage or not musically, but musically we fit real well together. But he
all
was
have
brilliant.
our little quirks, you know.
Oh yeah. He was brilliant, and Mystic. They had signed with Mystic before I got in the band, and that was just another treat, you know, at the time, because they were already recording or starting to record. So that was good.
Okay.
I think a lot of these songs, like the ones "Heaven's Closed" and "Round and Round," we were right in the middle of doing an album when we didn't really break up. It's just that we'd self-destructed. And then the Flower Leperds, you know, they reincarnated as with Tony, and that was good. Tony was a good. He used to go with us on the road before he was in the band, and that's all great. But yeah, the original band was, to me, and Mario, because we used to talk about it, was the real, you know, that was like a very special a band. You know, we were really troublemakers too, and I think that kept us from, you know, quite getting further. Like a lot of didn't want us to play at their gigs and stuff, because we would take things a little.
Yeah, I mean, that happened with a lot of you know, the bands. I mean, look at Leaving in Fear when they tried to play at the LA street scene in 1984. I mean, they shut it down, you know, and all of a sudden cops were everywhere, and it was horrible.
I remember that.
Yeah, and, you know, they had a lot of trouble at different gigs, but you know what? You can always thank the Cathay de Grande, because I always booked all of you guys.
Yeah, well, you know, that's funny, because the Cathay de Grande, the funny thing is the first time I went to the Cathay de Grande, I knew it was there, but the very first time was to see Fear. And that was like, nice. I want to say 82, 81, maybe.
Sure.
It was like,
yeah.
And there was like maybe 20 people there. Like, it wasn't really average. You dig? Like, it was the beginning.
Right.
And then, because they had a couple. What did they used to call those bands? New Romantic Band. You know what I mean? Didn't Top Jimmy used to play there sometimes? And
he played every Monday night. 80, 81, 82, I was in college. I wasn't even working there till like 83. And when I started working there, the place was packing.
That's what I was going to say. Then it got pumping. Yeah. Then every gig. That's where we'd go every night. Whether there was a show or not, we'd all meet there. And
people seem to like the bands that I matched and put together, because, you know, I'm a musician too. and I have a basic background in classical piano, which I even have some recordings on the organ. But anyway,
that's great.
Because of my musical knowledge and my love for music, I mean, as a kid, I grew up with a KRLA glued to my ear.
Right.
You know, I've always loved music, and I love the transition from rock and roll to punk, because I hated the slowness of classical music and those 16th notes of like Franz Liszt. It's like, man, I can really wail on this. And then punk rock came in. It's like, hell yeah. This is what's happening.
Right.
This is going to get you charged up. And punk rock sets the platform to say what you want. And you have the freedom of speech to get your message across through your music, and it's great.
There was just then, I guess now too, what do I know? But then you knew that you were seeing something totally unique. You knew that you were involved in something that wasn't going on anywhere else. That, you know,
Exactly.
I mean, I know that there's other, you know, New York was where it started, whatever, but I'm talking about just specifically Los Angeles. Because that's where I was.
We really got it kicking off at the Café de Grande.
Yeah, that place.
Did.
We were there every night. No matter who played there, we would just meet there. I mean, that was just part of it, you know, and playing there and seeing bands there, and just I miss Raji's and all that because I went to prison. But before that, the cafe was it. That was it. That was the spot. You know?
Well, you know, Dobbs, the guy who opened Raji's, he used to be my neighbor back in the 70s on Verdugo Road in
Glendale,
LA. It's right the border of LA, Glendale, right there.
Yeah, because Verdugo goes through Glendale. Really, he was your neighbor? Because he was like the light guy or the sound guy, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah,
at the cafe?
He was, and he was booking some of the bands, some of the time, tending bar. And the first time I went there, I was in college at LAVC. I wanted to work in the motion picture industry, and like my father and my grandfather and my brother, but I didn't want to go in on their names. I wanted to go in on my own, you know, on my own.
Right.
And one of my friends, Scott Mayer, took me to the Café de Grande. It's like, hell yeah. And then I run into Dobbs tending bar downstairs. I said, what the hell are you doing here, buddy? And we hugged, and that became, from 1982 on, the cafe became my home away from home, you know.
Right,
and then after about a year or so just hanging out there, not Dobbs, Michael Brennan, the owner, he taught me the book, you know, with everybody's contacts in it. And he says, look, Candy, you know everybody here. They like you. He said, I'm going to fire English Frank. God bless you, Frank. But anyway, he said, I need someone to book shows, and I think you can do it. And I said, hell yeah, I'm on. And I went down with the ship.
That's who was booking shows.
Yep,
okay.
I did it all the way through 83, 84, 85, 86 until we went down, and you know, we had a rough time.
Those were the golden years of cafe. That was like the prime years of the cafe.
Well, you know, I got a second stage going. I got, sorry, Danny, but
right, we played both stages. We played downstairs and upstairs. That's right. That's right. We've played both.
I got rid of the DJ in the booth. Sorry,
right,
Danny.
right.
And I had another. Michael put another stage upstairs, and
that's
we started
we played on it.
Yep,
I remember
exactly. We were doing two floors, 2 stages. 7 days a week, and I had to have everybody lined up a week ahead of time to advertise it in LA Weekly, and I loved it.
That upstairs stage was my favorite. I really liked playing up there. That was like when that came about. I remember we played someone's birthday party there or something, or maybe it wasn't booked as a birthday, but it was someone's birthday when we played. And nice. I loved that upstairs because me and Carlton used to do the DJ, and I remember there was some review. there was some review that was like, I wish those kids would play some good music, because we were playing like, like Rolling Stones, off Beggar's Banquet and a lot of stuff, and people weren't always trying to listen to that then. You dig? So
exactly,
I saw
and if they're deciding whether or not they want to come in and they hear regular rock and roll and they're coming for punk rock, they're like, yeah, I'm not spending my buck here.
Right. Well, I heard, or I read, I don't know if it was in Flipside or I read somewhere, they were like, Jesus, those DJs. And I laughed because Carlton had the gig, and then me and Scott and people would just roll in there and start spinning records, and we were not spinning what that crowd wanted to hear. And then later in my life, when I look back on it, I thought to myself, well, that wasn't a real, like, enticing thing. Like, people were, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, they ain't trying to hear what we were going to play in our living room. And I guess part of the job of a DJ is to play, the mood of the fucking place or whatever. And definitely that wasn't what was happening. But the cafe was it.
It was.
Those years.
It was. It really was. And I don't think there's ever been a nightclub as popular and as famous as the Cafe became,
No, it was really that because at that time, you still had the Lingerie, Kurt and them down there.
Yep.
We used to play there, and the whiskey had gone by the wayside, basically.
Yeah, it had. And the Starwood.
Totally. And the Roxy, no punk rock there.
That was for long hairs and Poison and
right, because that whole scene. Yeah, because we used to bump into those guys up there all the time. You know what I mean? Like before they were famous.
Right.
Well,
if Scotty's listening out there, call us back in. We'd love to have you back on, and same with you, Ron Fast. They both dropped off the calls, but
they couldn't make it through the song.
Was pretty good. Across from the Club Lingerie too, and. The Stardust Ballroom. Oh my gosh, I loved the Stardust Ballroom.
I saw Fear there too, and the Stardust Ballroom was real. And then they had the Scream there too, where Claire and them were doing that Scream Club or whatever. But the Stardust, I saw Fear there. It was really good. Fear and I think the Circle Jerks. I can't remember.
Some of the film that Video Lewis and I went there to film. Circle Jerks, VOA.
You're tied to Lewis that has that films of us.
Yes, he does.
He had sent me like clips of us at the cafe.
Well, you know what I'm working on? I'm working on getting those up on Vimeo so that you guys can get paid for your videos.
Really?
Huh? Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so horribly out of tune in that video. I just want to die every time I hear it.
Oh well, if you don't like it, I won't. I can.
No, I don't care. It's cool.
I can change it to the studio tracks.
Nah. Just leave it as it is.
Leave it
the natural
there
thing.
You
That's
go.
just
right
me.
On. That's right on, because you know what? That's what punk rock's all about.
That's just me being being an egotistical guitar player. Oh, I'm out of key, or I'm out of tune, or whatever. And maybe I'm the only one that can hear it. Now the soundboard will light up and everyone will call in. No, I can hear it, Shane. It's horrible, Shane. Turn down, Shane. But anyway.
But yeah, Lewis and I. It's funny because I met Lewis at the cafe when I was working there, and I started doing the Cold Seat with El Duce. And it was like a live comedy show we did upstairs on Wednesday nights, because Wednesday nights were kind of blasé, and it started picking things up. And I met Lewis. I still remember upstairs at the end of the bar there, meeting him, and come to find out he was the janitor at my kid's school in Tahunga. Sunland, Tahunga.
Of course he was. Small world.
And we were like neighbors, because I lived on Tahunga Canyon Boulevard in one of those little cabins up there, and he still lives in the same place in Sunland. So I used to help drag his equipment around in those big, heavy battery packs. And, oh, my gosh, today everything is so easy. I mean, a little camera that fits in your pocket, that has enough charge on it for several hours instead of the skullduggery that we went through, right?
Right. Yeah, I remember when you guys were filming. I remember that night. I remember.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
but,
I remember that. Yeah.
For the first time, I just learned what a smart TV is. I'm such an old dinosaur, man. I mean, come on.
What does that mean, a smart TV? I don't even know what that means.
That's what I wanted to frickin' know. So I checked it out, and I went over to one of my friend's house after I got out of the hospital the other day, and she's got one of these smart TVs, and she goes, look, I get YouTube on here. I said, hey, type in Santa Set Me Up, because me and Ron Fast, we put that song together out of a true story that happened to me, you know. We wrote that song together, and then Gina Frison does the vocals on it. It's a really cool song. Anyway, it pulled right up, and I got pictures of me when I was 17 years old sitting on that scuzz's lap. I worked for National Photography at the time, and I was the photographer taking pictures of little kids with Santa. I wasn't even 18 yet. But anyway,
what a good job.
He